a seat to the bar and join us for another episode of McAnally's Pubcast, a podcast exploring the fun and fantastical mind of Jim Butcher's The Dresden Files series. Hosts Tansen, Jess, and Maggie bring you another round of literary analysis on this immense, immersive, and colorful environment inhabited by Harry Dresden, the world's only licensed private investigator and professional wizard. Join an active and engaged community of new and die-hard dedicated fans focused on the fabulous themes, theories, characters, context, lore, and more. This is McAnally's Dresden Files Pubcast, brought to you by Free Flow Rambling. Conjure by it at your own risk. Welcome to the McAnally's Pubcast, brought to you by Free Flow Rambling. This is episode 9.2, I'm a Wizard, Ask Me How, where we are covering the novel Summer Night. My name is Tansen, and I'm joined by Maggie.
Hello, hello.
And Jess.
Tango. Thank you so much to our Patreon subscribers for your generous support. It's people like you who help us keep doing what we're doing. If you're not yet a Patreon subscriber, sign up today and get a fuck ton of bonus content, kick-ass merch, behind-the-scenes outtakes, and more. Sign up today at patreon.com/freeflowrambling.
Chapter 2. Dresden drops off Billy and returns to his office. There he finds his office already occupied by one Ms. Sommerset. Dresden quickly deduces that she is Faerie and tells her to leave. She informs Harry that she has bought his debt to Leah and now controls him and proves it in a painful manner. She reveals herself to be Mab, Queen of the Winter Court.
Supernatural 101. Teach the kiddos how to clean up a crime scene.
Of squished
Take this
frogs.
shotgun, wipe it down, and get rid of it.
Right? Yes, I guess that. I was going to say it starts off with dropping him off, but yes, that's the night. Yeah. He then goes on to explain that he just went. And Billy's like, he doesn't even really need to. Billy already knows, apparently. Because he grabbed it and wiped it down, so it wasn't left behind. But Billy's like, I'll take that and get rid of it for you, Mr. Dresden.
Been here, done that. Let's do it again.
Okay, recently graduated college kid, no problem. Thank you.
Responsible adult.
Right.
But again, there's only about 5 years between them.
Yes. Well, yes, I know. And I mean, again.
I keep forgetting that. That's not very much.
I know. I had a hard time with that the first few times through. Because again, like we've said 100 times over, Dresden always sounded like 40. And even though, like, canon in my head, I'm like, I know they're not going to start him out at like 40. But again, right, it did always seem like Billy was so much younger and everything like that, just because I guess he talks about him being in college. We already know that Dresden's like out in the world and starting his own business. But yeah, Billy, I guess if he's graduated now, has to just be 22-ish, 3-ish, I guess, depending on
Right.
how old. Yeah.
Literally same though. Like, I was 19 when I moved out, and I've got like 25-year-old friends who still live at home, and I'm like, ugh, you'll never understand the world like I do.
Yeah, right.
That same age.
So Georgia greets Billy with a first aid kit, which was very sweet.
Which is very sweet. We see Georgia again. They're still together. Yeah, she's out, and I think she notices because when they pull up and he gets out of the car, her nostrils kind of flare. So I kind of like how they carry over a little bit of Wolfie abilities. Not a lot, because I don't think we've ever really seen them be like, you know, really super strong or anything like that when they're like in human form, other than, you know, I mean, like it talks about in this one how Billy obviously has sort of lost the baby fat and bulked up and stuff like that, right? But sort of on a supernatural or preternatural level or whatever. But little things like that where sometimes, you know, they seem to scent things out a little bit more than the average person would without being too, but yeah. So, kind of makes you wonder exactly how they're, because we don't really talk about it a whole lot, but like, I don't know if it's Dresden that mentions it somewhere or whatever, like when he's talking about them, but basically, you know, Billy et al. Have learned like one spell to do one thing, right? They're not wizards, they're not sorcerers, they're not shapeshifters per se. They can't like just willingly change to whatever. But Tara or whatever taught them this one thing that they can do. So it kind of makes you wonder, like, how does that work? What is the, like, again, fine, if you were a shapeshifter, then you could just be like, give yourself, dog scent or whatever without maybe necessarily have to shift your entire physical form over to like a dog or a wolf or something like that. You could just like change your ears to like pick, or like.
I think I know where you're going with this.
Yeah.
And I will say that the reason that they still have their werewolf abilities even when they're human is because they're not just, I cast a spell and I'm a werewolf. It's more like they performed a ritual and they'll never end the ritual no matter what. They change bodies back and forth, but the ritual is just nonstop, always happening forever and ever and ever and ever and ever.
Yeah, okay. That's an interesting way. Because they do, you never really hear Harry reference them doing or saying anything. They just seem to be able to shift back and forth kind of at will and, at a moment's notice or whatever, right? So I guess that could be, they did sort of make themselves sort of shape shifters in that sense, that they've got free ability to flow back and forth between these two forms at any point.
Yeah, it's not like they start and stop a spell each and every time they shift. It's one non-stop continuous spell that never ever ends, regardless of whether or not they are human or wolf appearing.
Yeah. That kind of makes sense, I guess.
So you're speculating that they have the ability to selectively change something, though? Is that what I'm getting?
No, I was saying I don't think they really have that.
Oh, okay.
That's why, because I was like, say, like, if you're born a shapeshifter and whatever, whether you're talking Dresden verse or some other mythos or whatever, I just mean, like, we've seen that in other formats or whatever, where somebody can be like, like the genie in Aladdin, right? It was like he could just make his ears like a super duper big radar dish if he wanted to hear something. He didn't have to be, or same thing, he could, that sort of thing. But they're not really like that.
Right.
She's questioning why they can smell or hear or see better even when they're in their human form when they're not casting the spell. But I'm arguing that the spell has been cast and they never turn the spell off,
Right.
regardless of how they look.
I don't think I remembered any sort of reference to them actually outright saying that they do have preternatural while they're in human form.
Not really. I'm talking in this exact moment. He says he drops Billy off, and George is sitting on the balcony reading a book. Billy gets out of the car, and George's like nostrils flare, and she looks up and immediately goes and gets a first aid kit because Billy got slashed or whatever by the
Okay.
ghoul.
I think I probably overlooked that moment.
Yeah. So
I'm like,
Yeah,
it's such a small moment that I don't think.
yeah, no, it is. I'm talking more in the general sense, and that, again, my knowledge of the entire series and things like that, it was just sort of made me wonder, like, what exactly made up the format of the werewolves and how that sort of works, right? Because I could say somebody somewhere says something, I think, to the effect of, like, taught him a spell of how to change, right? So I'm like, what is it? But yeah, I like that sort of definition, idea, theory, or whatever that, I guess it's more of a ritualistic type of thing that...
Okay.
Now that you've brought it up, I read it your way, but the way that I read it was that, like, I was, like, getting very big, like, charity vibes from George. I'm like, what the fuck do you have a problem with Dresden for? Because normally when someone's nostrils flare, they're not werewolves, they're angry, right?
Yes.
So when
See,
I
I
first
think that's
read
probably
it,
how I
is more how I took it, is
thinking.
like, why does she have a problem with Harry? Because she loves Harry every moment after this.
Oh,
So I'm like,
yeah,
why is
no,
she all,
I
like,
read-
nostrils flaring?
Because she doesn't talk to them or see anything. It's just Georgia disappeared inside and came out with a first aid kit.
Well,
so
yeah, and
I
the whole
always...
scene is like Harry's being like, I didn't want to stick around. I gave a wave, and like I must have been pretty surly based on her expression, right? So I totally read it as Georgia just having an issue with him, and I'm like, but why?
Yeah.
Like, you love him every moment after this, but I realize now, yeah, she's
That's-
a werewolf
yeah.
sniffing the air.
The moment Billy got out of the car, Georgia looked up sharply from her book and her nostrils flared. She headed into the house and met him at the door with a first aid kit. So it's like she wasn't looking right. She's sitting reading her book, and all of a sudden she's like, boing!
Yeah.
She she looked up, or as soon as the car, so she could have just heard the car and.
She could have, but again, it's just it doesn't say when the car came in. It just says the moment Billy got out of the car, Georgia looked up sharply. So I was.
I'm inclined to believe the werewolf
Yeah.
senses because we know in
Yeah.
future books
Right.
that they have werewolf abilities even when they're human. We know that from future books. But I'd also, it would be funny just to be like, oh, Billy's home, I'll get the first aid kit.
See, my overall impression is that she was annoyed
Billy's
with Billy
home
for
with
getting
George.
hurt.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and you want to
Any and all of the
It's
above.
Like, oh, Billy's home with Dresden. Better get the first aid
Yeah.
kit.
This is just the whole town. Anytime Dresden drops off any of his friends from school, their parents just are like, okay, I'll get the bandages.
Actually, like, again, I don't think this is any major spoilers or anything like that, but in much later books, I believe they're at Murphy's house or something like that, and goes to get the first aid kit, and instead of it being, like, either like the little Tupperware kind of case or like the little zippered book kind of thing that most of us have. He pulls out like a fucking like toolbox of like, it's like Murphy's first aid kit is not like, for the boo-boo when you slice your finger cutting carrots or something. It's like a fucking like huge toolbox with pretty much everything in it, but yeah.
I wouldn't expect anything less from a police officer, really.
Right. And especially with friends like she's got,
Right.
Dresden and Michael, and
I'm sure she's got a whole survivalist kit as well. To the side for emergency.
Well,
she's got to go big.
Don't make fun of me for not knowing. But what's that show? Mads?
Not
Mads. Who? His name? One of the doctors' names was Hawkeye?
MASH.
Not
Mobile
Mads.
Army Surgical Hospital.
Right. Yes. There is a point later in the series when like Murphy's house is essentially just like the medical tent. It's just like young supernatural people rolling up every day like amputees, like fix this please. Okay, bye. See you tomorrow.
So Dresden in his car catches a glimpse of himself in his mirror and notices how disheveled he is. His beard's grown in, he's got dark circles under his eyes, his hair's grown out with short burned patches from an attack by murder by pizza.
Murder by pizza, yeah.
Which he brought up at the end of last book. He said at the end of Grave Peril, he was like, I ordered pizza, but the pizza driver tried to kill me, so I haven't done that in a while.
Yeah, he's like, I haven't ordered pizza since the first delivery tried to kill me or whatever, tried to bomb me.
Right.
The pizza, yeah, and
I'm very inconsiderate.
That's just rude.
Don't
Take
mess
away
with
a man's
pizza.
pizza. I know, right? It's like Carrie already has not a lot of stuff, and he's no like gourmet chef or anything like that. But it was like, man, these vamps really know how to hurt a guy. Like, hit him at home, like. You like pizza? No more pizza for you, because you never know.
Right, and how's he supposed to bribe the fairies now?
Right?
They've got a taste for pizza. They're not going back to apple slices.
Maybe he can just rely on them, like, sniffing out.
To be fair, though, he says as much here. He's like, 9 months has passed since the party at Bianca's, which was,
In the
his
fall.
birthday was the end of October, so it happened a few weeks before his birthday. Now we're in, like, mid-June.
Is it June or July when we
June.
start? Yeah, June. Okay, yeah, I know.
Very specifically right before the 21st of the solstice. June.
Fair.
Yeah. So we're in June. 9 months have passed, and he says, if not this chapter, the next one, he's like, not that I can even afford to order pizza these days anyway. So, Toot would have been suffering eventually whether or not the pizza guy was trying to kill him or not.
True. Although he never even really got the apple slices. I always thought that was interesting. I'm sure it was just a forgotten detail. But in that first book, because he makes a big deal about going home, and he's like, I got like the milk and the bread and an apple and a little... And then he goes and he serves him like the bread and milk, but I'm like, you never did serve him the apple, Harry. You had your little pocket knife to cut it up and your little thing, but I'm like, all you gave was the bread and milk. So... I don't know.
Maybe that was a consolation prize that we don't know about later.
Maybe.
Now that you've done my bidding, here's an apple.
Had your bread and milk. Here's your apple slices for dessert. Yeah, I don't know, maybe.
And he sort of reflects that he's been spending basically 24/7 researching in a basement for a vaccine or some kind of cure for Susan.
Something, yeah.
And we learn that Susan's been still writing for the Arcane, so Harry knows that she's still alive.
Yeah.
But he's been respecting her wishes and not looking for her.
Yes. So yeah, he refers to, just to give us a little background and remind us who Susan was. And he says she had been a reporter for a Yellow Journal. Do y'all know where that came from? Or what that is, I guess?
Yellow Journal?
Yeah. Yellow journalism?
Just the shittiest paper journalism.
Kind of. So, I mean, basically nowadays, yeah, it's ones that present little or no legitimate, well-searched news.
It's like calling it a rag paper, but I don't even know where that origin comes from either.
Yeah.
That's another slang.
Like another, journalism that is based on sensationalism and crude exaggeration. More what it started from was when Hearst, who had already built the San Francisco Examiner, bought the World or the New York World or whatever it was, and was going to outdo it by more sensationalism, and it was New York City by outdoing his competitors in sensationalism, crusades, and Sunday features. He brought in some of his staff from San Francisco and hired away some from Pulitzer's paper, including Richard F. Outcall, a cartoonist who had drawn an immensely popular comics picture series, The Yellow Kid, for the Sunday World. So after his defection, the comic was drawn for the world by George B. Lux, and the two rival picture series excited so much attention that the competition between the two newspapers came to be described as yellow journalism. Basically because of this cartoon series that they both then tried and just trying to one-up and outdo each other, so it just became kind of a big gong show, and that's where... So yeah,
that's where we get the rags.
That's where we get the rags, and that's where we get most of, all that terms of that. So yeah, something like the Arcane with Elvis spotted having lunch with Bigfoot is, sure, a lot of research went into that. I'm sure it's all backed up by facts. And so yeah, it was just all, whatever you could to grab readers and improve circulation was, sure, we'll print that.
Okay, cool. Harry guilts himself for not telling her that he loved her sooner. And he's absolutely miserable. He doesn't have the money to get himself food, and he knows he needs to get that job with Ms. Sommerset.
Yes, the one that Billy has set up.
Yeah.
That he came to tell us about. Yeah, and I think Dresden's probably, being Dresden, going off several fronts. So, I mean, even if Susan had not been specifically his girlfriend, and if he hadn't been putting off saying I love you and all through the last book and stuff like that, right? If it had been Justine, he still would have felt shitty and awful and guilty, that he didn't prevent it. He was, whether directly or indirectly, responsible. Yeah, I'm like, he would have felt, just as guilty about not saving, protecting, whatever. But yeah, he just got it on so many levels because it was his girlfriend and he did love her. And she got the invitation from him to, and then...
there was a certain amount of neglect on his part, which is legit.
That
was legit.
Had we shared information, had we talked to each other, so yeah, he's just got a whole lot going on there, so...
that whole too little, too late thing, right? He spends every day now on Susan.
$1 short and a day late, and yeah, exactly, right.
A lot of what ifs I had done this.
Yeah. Yeah, and so because it has, again, that more personal resonance to it, I mean, he, doesn't like anybody that got turned into a vampire, but now it hits really close to home. It wasn't even just like a random, oops, they got her walking home one night. So now he's, pouring everything into, now this is the impetus to drive him to, well, okay, nobody's done it since the existence of vampires, but it doesn't mean there isn't a way to fix it,
Maybe
just
no one
nobody's
tried.
looked for the cure yet, right? Exactly. We didn't have penicillin before somebody discovered penicillin and what it could do, and...
Right, and this really describes the desperation that he's neglected everything so much.
Everything.
To try to get this cure that doesn't exist.
Yeah. Work, home, life, hygiene, friends.
Yeah. Dude's downtrodden, depressed, miserable, exhausted.
At the bottom of a very deep, dark hole. Mm-hmm. And then just get pissed off at Billy when Billy points it out to him. And then 5 minutes later, he stops and actually looks in his rearview mirror and goes, well, fuck.
Ah, shit, he's right.
Maybe he's got a point.
Sits down and cries in his car, but eventually he's like, all right, get your shit together. You've got a job. Mm-hmm.
So he does make it to his office in Midtown. He's already a few minutes late for his appointment. The elevator is apparently still out of order from the scorpion attack in Stormfront.
Big bang.
Yeah.
Right.
So he's shocked by a spark from his office door, which catches his attention a bit. Mm-hmm. So he cautiously enters his office and realizes it looks like shit in there. I like that he does notice that somebody's been trying to clean up. So we realize his friends have been there to just try to help him along
Take
a
out
little
the trash, bring in his mail.
Yeah, kind of shoved all of his mess into like a less messy pile. I was like, we don't really know what to do with this or like where you need it, but yes, we'll just try and tidy the mess piles a little bit.
Well, he says, like, how furious he is. Like, he's like, this is my space. Like, people aren't supposed to be in here, like, tidying up. And, like, I actually fully feel that. Like, I understand, like, Billy and Georgia and friends, like, trying to be nice and help out. But that one, for me, I'd be like, invasion of privacy. How dare you come and fix up my office? Like,
yeah.
Especially if you're in such a low point. It's
yeah, right?
Like, don't do anything for
You know
me.
what?
Don't do something nice.
I actually
feel like
wanted 87 cups of coffee in here, okay? It's how I count my days, so fuck you. Now I don't know what day it is.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
So Dresden continues to go into the office and finds a beautiful woman there. She dons pure white hair, is very fair-skinned, and has lips the color of frozen mulberries. Mm-hmm. She is immaculately dressed in a woman's power suit. Dresden deduces that this woman has some money.
You know, people don't usually break out the mulberries. You know, this has got to be pretty
well,
rare and
unless
fantastical.
you got a monkey and a weasel on hand.
She thinks she's funny. She's not, though.
You're just jealous because you have no idea what I'm referring to, do you?
No, of course not.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Round and round the mulberry bush, the monkey chased the weasel.
Oh,
The monkey thought it was
yes.
all in fun. Pop goes the weasel.
Oh, you're so retro.
I'm only 2 years older than Tansen. Just I get.
It's been 200 years.
Apparently.
I'd say Pocket Full of Posies is a little bit more topical these days.
Fair enough, I guess, maybe, but I survived. Could we have a button, it's like Ring Around the Rosie, I survived the plague or something.
Yeah. Maybe if we actually do all survive the plague, they'll hand them out. We're still in it. We're actively still
we
happening.
can start designing now and get a jump on it.
Yeah. So anyways, so this is furthermore to his point about being like, oh, maybe I did want to shave and not be in sweatpants and like have done laundry and like, like even when he said it in the car, how he's like, oh, this is the first time I've kind of like,
Really
looked in a
taken
mirror and
stock
taken
of-
stock. But this is like, it's really in the presence of other people. Because yeah, like you'll look at yourself in the mirror at home and you're like, who cares that I look horrible, right? But as soon as like someone comes over or like, the mailman knocks on your door and you're like,
Oh shit, I just grossed myself out.
that's like the worst for me. Like, like not telemarketers, but whoever knocks on your door when you're at home. Canvassers, that's always like, if I accidentally open the door for them, that's always when I look horrible. And I'm like,
Yeah.
do I really have to stand on my doorstep looking like this for half an hour while I try to politely turn you away? Like,
Right, like the one time I had to drive you guys to school and we were like running late and I was just, it was like winter or something and I was like, screw it, I'm going in my flannel jammies, I'm comfortable, like I had time to go home again or whatever and had to stop for, I don't know if I had to grab gas or something and the gas station was like right on the corner down from our house and I was like, whatever, people go to Walmart in their pajamas all the time, who cares? It's like 8 o'clock in the morning if I have... Yeah, of course I ran into somebody I knew then. He didn't live in that neighborhood, but of course just happened to be at that gas station at that time when I walked in like my yellow Tweety Bird pajamas or something. I'm like, I fucking hate the world.
Damn you, Murphy!
The world hates me. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
such an evil bastard. Him, not the other Murphy. Kind of made me realize too that first, again, the initial thought is all like, yeah, I look like shit. I'm wearing like crappy sweatpants and there's like this beautiful rich woman. But then I thought maybe it's the other consequence Harry might have had about wearing sweatpants and walking into a really beautiful, good looking, nice smelling, wealthy woman.
He's still pretty young, so...
Yeah, I was like, maybe it wasn't just the style of maybe it was the other drawbacks to that.
think like a male
Choice of
author
clothes.
writing a male character. Right.
Yeah. So, yeah, there was just all kinds of reasons, I guess, Harry wished he could have been dressed differently that day.
Well, I love it too, where like when they get talking and she's like, I almost wish you hadn't shown up. Like, this is not the image I was expecting for the only wizard in the phone book, right? And I'm like, yeah, no, not what you'd want out of someone you're hiring as a private investigator.
Not at all, but I
wizard.
guess, on the other hand, when you're the only one in the book,
True.
who do you have to...
Who sets the uniform
Okay,
but
go
you?
to the next guy. Oh, wait.
Yeah, she quite quickly and correctly assesses Dresden by the state of him in his office. Like,
Yeah.
she's pretty doubtful that he's going to be able to help. Like, oh, I don't know about this. Yeah, no.
Yeah, which again, very fair. Yeah, he is the only one in the phone book, but at the same time, also like, maybe I don't believe in wizards. Maybe that's not real.
Maybe this is why he's advertising under.
Yeah.
He's just a complete psychopath.
Yeah, right.
That's okay. I just wish they'd made mention of her because they always like. I do like how whenever we go to Harry's office, pretty much Butcher will like throw in what kind of like pamphlets and things. And I was like, is Mab sitting there reading like Magic for Dummies or like I'm a Wizard, ask me how, or like I forget Witches Don't Actually Float or whatever. I think is that the one from like Stormfront or something. Yeah, and it's just like I was like, one of these times, or I'd love it some. I mean, it's kind of getting a bit late now. We're so far in the series, but I'm like, it would have been like hilarious to like. Like show up at campus and see like a couple of these like tacked to the, somebody's like actually looking through his pamphlets or like trying to bone them on, It's like, hey, you read one.
Hey Murph, can I leave like my box of like Girl Scout flyers at your office door?
Well, not even so much in that
Murph
way.
coming
of him
into work
spreading
like
them
my
around.
wizard's doing a donation fundraiser this weekend.
Anybody want to buy some popcorn?
Yeah, Yeah, at this point, he might need some fundraising.
Yeah, right?
Okay, I was thinking more it'd just be funny if he came across somebody that had, like, picked one up. But okay, that's even funnier if he's, like, trying to go in places and leave them other mundane places around town.
Every time he goes to Burger King, he's just like, can I just pin this on the wall?
Yeah, right. Just drops a few into that,
Right
like...
next to the room for rent, like...
Well, I work at a gas
Wizard for
station,
hire.
right? And people will bring us their pamphlets, like, can I leave this by the till? And I always say yes, but then after they leave, then I decide whether or not I actually want that there. And I'm like, what are you advertising? I'm like, nah, I'm putting this in the garbage. Or sometimes I'm like, actually, yeah, that one can stay. Like,
I was thinking more, do they have that, like, in Chicago and stuff, too, where we have all, like, those little free magazine racks with, like, the home renters and, like, the community guides and stuff?
oh yeah, and grocery stores and things like that.
Grocery stores and, like, sometimes the Burger Kings, you know? Like, he's just going around, like, stuffing those in a few slots or whatever, you know?
Even worse is, like, if he's going door to door, putting it in the mailbox. Lost rings?
Well, thankfully,
Paranormal investigations?
he just goes and cruises the Gold Coast. He's like, screw, you know, I don't know really any neighborhoods.
You know, farmer markets that, like, set up their little booth or whatever like that? He should
Okay,
just, like,
yeah.
have, like a
But I was thinking he's just ditching
a table and a table and a
in a market.
tablecloth, you know? He just
Yes.
sits there and he's like, all right.
Is it like that?
Crystal
meme
ball,
for, like,
cards, approach.
No, he wouldn't do that because he does not want to be seen as a fortune teller. So
yeah,
he
but
wouldn't
still,
do the
you've
whole...
got to have the image, okay?
Yeah, but he doesn't want to be seen as a fortune teller. So he'd have other doodads.
And he should
just not-
stop telling people their fortunes.
When did he start?
You're about to die. Boo. I don't know.
Once again, Jessica proving she really hasn't read these books.
I just say words. I don't really.
I just read a chapter at a time 5 minutes before. I retain it enough for the hour-long conversation, and it's gone again. But yes, I just think it'd be funny him going around to, like, all the rich neighborhoods, and, you know, he's like, I don't, you know, poor people can't afford me and won't be, but the rich people might hire me to find their ring and their fancy...
Rich people love psychics.
That too, right? Maybe you could talk them into something else when they got there.
Maybe.
I say that would be great and a totally good, like, money-making scheme for, like, a poor young guy, but at the same time, Harry would have about, like, 2 seconds of patience.
Yeah, that's the thing.
For
It's
any
like,
client
he just
that came to
couldn't
him. He's
handle
like,
it.
yeah, no. It's like the second they showed up, he'd be like, no, you're rich and snooty and I just annoy the fuck out of me. I don't care if you're going to pay me. I'm not taking your job.
Or even worse, even if he did want the job and he was willing to do it, they wouldn't put up with his lip.
Yeah, exactly, right. Yes, ma'am. Certainly, ma'am. Of course, ma'am. Yeah, no.
So the longer that Harry talks to Ms. Sommerset, the more she sort of reveals that she knows about wizards. We find out that she knows about soul gazing and suggests to partake in one. And Dresden is like, yeah, no.
Yeah.
I love, too, that he's not even selling it as like, oh, I don't really want to know what's in your brain. He's very much selling it as like, you don't want to see the inside of my brain, lady. Like, I'm saving you trauma. Like, I know it sounds cool, but no one is going to like what they see when they soul gaze me. Like, you know?
Right. Yeah, and it's, I was gonna say, you know, is our boy finally kind of, like, learning, because, you know, you're talking about the first, but I was, like, whips that shit out like a weapon in the first, bah! And now
Element
he's
of
like,
surprise.
oh, yeah, no, I've learned that's a bad idea on both ends. He's like,
They're either going to run away or they're going to die.
or I'm just gonna have to fucking see that, and I'm just, I'm, like, suddenly stocking up, like, the mental horror library.
You only take so many cosmic horrors before you're like, all right.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll think about it now.
Oh, maybe it's not such a good idea. Like, yes, it's effective and stops them in their tracks momentarily, but I have to live with that for the rest of my life. So maybe we'll just slow down a little on that one.
So he listens to her case a little bit. Or, well, no. Does she talk about this? Or does he threaten her first?
He, like, pulls a gun on her,
Sorry,
I
what
think,
were you?
next.
I know, but does she talk about her case before that? Or are they just like...
No, the soul
okay, never
gaze.
mind. Yeah,
No,
I'm
we're
jumping
talking
ahead.
about the soul gaze first, because
Yeah.
he's like, we can gaze on each other, you and I, then I will know if you can be of any use to me. Surely it will cost me nothing. And he's like, I wouldn't be so sure, because you'll get to ski everything. And then she's like, why not? It won't take long. And he's like, that's not the issue. So he's still trying to talk her out of it. He's like, Miss Sommerset, I think you may have made a mistake in your estimations. So she's like, oh. And he's like, I nodded. I opened the drawer to my desk and took out a pad of paper. Yeah, I've had a rough time of things lately. You can't possibly know how little that matters to me. And I'm like,
Now, that's a funny line.
that's...
But a lie. A full-on lie, as we soon find out. Like, Miss Mab has had her... Spoiler. But Miss
We're gonna get
Sommerset
there.
has had her eye on this bitch for a little while. Like, Like, we find out very soon here, like, she's lined up her dominoes quite nicely. She knows exactly what's going on with his life.
She knows, but I don't think she's like, you can't possibly know how little that matters to me. And I don't think that is a lie. I think it plays into her hand for what she wants. But as far as
so
her
she doesn't
actually
care about him.
caring if he's having
his
a rough,
well-being.
she didn't give a shit about the rough time he's having. All she cares
very
about is
convenient
how
for her.
it's gonna play out for her. It benefits her. But yeah, so sorry, I can't support you on that one, much as I'd love to agree with you, but I don't think Mab's lying one bit. And I think that is what kind of makes it funnier.
She can't lie, so...
Well, that's what I thought you were going with. You're like, ha, she told an outright lie.
No,
but...
I'm not saying that.
Oh, okay, that's what I thought. You were going to, like, jump on for a second and be like, caught her. But yeah, no. I'm like, yeah, I just think it's, again, once you do find out and know when Mab's, like, thousands of years, millions of years, you know, however long Mab has been around and blah, blah, blah. And she's just like, yeah, I don't care. You can't possibly know.
Yeah, doesn't she pull the gun on him next?
And then, no, he does. As in, he pulls out the pad. Yeah.
Yeah. And because she's too good to be true. And then he tells her to put her hands on the table, which he proceeds to flick an iron nail at her, which she does not appreciate whatsoever.
No, she tries to bluff it for a moment, and then at the last second, she just, you know, not moving fast, just like blurs and reappears.
Yeah.
So it was like, yeah, that's not even just quick movement. That was
Right, reveals her to be Faerie.
completely. But yeah, I do, again, just love that mental image of that, of him, you know, sitting there as this conversation is going on and being like, you know, and, you know, take out his pad and his pencil, like he's going to start, you know, and then casually take out the gun and sit it on the other side, and it's like, you know, and then, yes, of all things, when he pulls out a nail and that's it. But yeah, I just always loved kind of
Empty the drawer.
just like,
Everyone's got to clear out their drunk drawer every now and again.
every once in a while, and she wasn't that impressed with the gun. Let's see if this will impress her. And he flicks a thumbtack in her face, but...
Right, so then he's all like, blah, 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 like, my deal with Leah isn't expired yet, and she's not allowed to send people after me, so you have to fuck off, and blah, and that's
And
not
this one gets me, though. So his closing line, so he's like, the bargain with my godmother has months yet to go. He said, a year and a day she had to leave me alone. That was the deal. If she's trying to weasel out of it, I'm going to be upset. And I'm like, Harry, the biggest fucking hypocrite ever.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. I was very specific in that deal with her. If she even tries for a second.
She tried to weasel out of it like I did to her 47 times.
And the way that Marsters reads it, too, he's like, I'm going to be upset. It's like, you're so, like, sanctimonious.
I know, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know if I'd argue maybe a little bit with that. I would have read it the other way, yeah. I was just like, he's like, if she's trying to weasel out of it, and you're just like, are you fucking for real? Like, seriously, you're being
We're
funny
on
again,
Weasel
aren't
Plan,
you?
like, 35 right now.
I know. It just killed me. I'm gonna be upset.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
and
but anyways, things get worse.
Yeah, they do. The fairy is rather impressed by Dresden. She asked him to know how he figured it out. The static on the door being one of them, the door being locked, and that she doesn't actually answer any of the questions directly.
Yeah.
And that for whatever reason she has no purse for her ensemble, which, you know, because every woman has to have a purse.
I know. I'm like yes and no with that. I mean, granted, you know, most of the time you would see her with a fancy chic little, but at the same time, I'm like, if she's, I don't know, maybe she left it down in her waiting limo. Like,
What's the thing? Like, if I'm seeing, like, some, like, maybe wizard thing, like, I'd probably already, like,
ditch the
I don't
jewelry,
have a limo
valuables.
to tuck it somewhere, but I probably would have, like, you know, slipped
Yeah.
into my bra or something, you know, just to be safe, right? Like,
But yeah, exactly. Lock everything away and not take it in with you where it's gonna. But
crazy guys just pulling guns and nails on everyone. Like,
right. This is true. And I mean, I get it a little bit. Like, you know, we always joke and bitch about, like, how no women's clothing has pockets, you know, and it's like, it'll ruin the line, you can't shove a bunch of crap in your fancy. And I'm like, I get, again, a woman like this. Exactly. She's probably not shoving her cell phone down into her bra or her bank card or anything like that, you know. She probably doesn't have, like, $20 slipped into her heel. Yeah, inside her shoe.
Inside my 6-inch pump is at 20.
Yeah, right, you know. like, so, yes, you're right. She probably, from that point of view, would have a purse to hang on to those kinds of necessities. But at the same time, right, I'm like, again, if you're making it out to
Harry,
be
your
this
logic is so antiquated.
It's, well, a little bit, right? But I was like, and partially, I'm like, yeah, I was like, I don't know that everybody carries a purse all the time. And exactly, I'm like, if she's this well, exactly, I'm like, chances are, I mean, well, yeah, because Chicago's not the same. More people drive in Chicago than New York. So I was going to say, I guess if you're taking a cab, you're not going to leave your shit in a cab. But chances are exactly right. She probably has a vehicle or a driver or right? I'm like, yeah, she could easily just have left all that shit in the car and locked it up. And then,
My manservant is outside waiting.
Yeah, exactly.
All he needs is the word.
Yeah, right? Like, exactly. I'm like, she can go down and get it to her. She'll probably fucking wire you the money if she's actually hiring you for a job or something, I was like, but yes, whatever, I guess.
Either way, she's impressed.
Either way,
Yes.
he can not
He's
too
a detective.
distractive. He still can think on his feet and...
Right. She
Yeah.
wishes to employ Dresden to retrieve something stolen and return it to the rightful owners. It's a little bit vague.
And he, pretty much is just like, fuck no.
Yeah.
Don't care. Nope. But you haven't even heard what it is. Nope. Don't care. Nope. Don't want it. Nope.
Much to his surprise, she counters because and she lets him know his debt has been purchased from Leah, and that he kind of does have to do what she says.
A little bit.
Ooh, maybe some weaseling did happen, Harry.
Yeah.
Just a touch. Well, in all fairness, he is pretty upset.
Leah didn't weasel out of it so much as Mab weaseled into it.
This is
Right.
true.
So,
yes.
give Leah her credit.
Leah's beholden to Mab, so,
Yeah.
if she wants to pick up his marker, then, she didn't have a whole lot to
Yep.
argue about that, so.
So, unfortunately for Harry, that was not part of the deal.
Right. Well, that sort of sets up that she is already a better manipulator than Leah is.
Yeah.
She's the queen.
But he
Yeah.
doesn't quite know this yet, but yeah.
No, exactly. That, good
This-
as Leah is and as
This
high.
fairy has some power.
Which is, a good point, I guess. Yeah, even if you don't know that she's the queen, to know that she outsmarted Leah as far as he's aware.
Or manipulated or was able to bargain or whatever.
with
Exactly.
Leah,
Yeah.
that does mean big chops.
Right.
Yeah.
And of course, Dresden doesn't really believe her and asks for proof.
Oh, fuck.
does he get it?
I cannot read this at all. I've got to... I always listen to the audiobook when I did this chapter, And I kept taking the earbud out, and I'd wait 30 seconds, I'd put it back. I'm like, oh, we're still on it. And I'd take out the earbud, and I'd wait 30 seconds, I'd put it... I'm like, God, move on already. I take out the earbud. It took
It doesn't last that long.
It was like 3 or 4 times that I tried to put in the earbud, and I'm like, can we just, move on
Well, okay,
already?
the one part is, I guess you know the scene if you have to get through the whole scene. But I'm like, it doesn't take that long for it to happen. But yeah,
No.
unpleasant. Don't
Very
like.
unpleasant.
Yeah, and it shows her ruthlessness. Like, you want proof? Fine.
Yeah.
Here it is.
Especially because,
Because that's a letter opener, probably really dull.
Not. I was gonna say not not sharp enough for something like that. Yeah.
I love Summer Night. It's one of my favorites.
Absolutely.
But even still, I can't say that I've got it perfectly memorized. So in my head, I thought it was going to be like, she almost does it, but it goes between the fingers. No!
Oh, yeah?
Right through the hand! Okay, cool. I probably have never read that scene
The second time.
I
You're
don't
like,
think-
I know what's happening.
I've probably
But-
just never read that scene in its entirety
You
at
probably
all. I've
skimmed
probably
over
skimmed
all
it
of
my
it,
entire
right?
life. So yeah, I was fully just like, okay, let's just gonna just bear.
Yeah.
Fast forward.
Yeah.
And where I don't know if it's just coming up here shortly or if it was in one of the last books, but I mean, he does have, I think it's here explaining the course. But anyways, that very apt description that not so much good or evil, but like the seasons for which they were named, just cold. I had it in my brain. Not
Detached.
calculating.
Unrelenting.
Beautiful,
Unrelenting.
pitiless, and entirely without remorse.
Yeah. There you go. So basically, yes, wherever he says that that's, such an apt description is that, what is it? Beautiful, pitiless, and
Without remorse. Entirely without
remorse. Yeah. So, yeah, she's like, I don't give a shit. You want proof. And so, yeah, unfortunately, there's no between the fingers. There's no almost. It's, yeah.
And what's even worse, too, is that he even says, he's like, and also my deal with Leah's still being contested. And she's like, well, it's settled now.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is, even worse for him because, under the terms of the new deal, things are a little bit more concrete because, Leah and Mab were the ones who wrote that New Deal, not you and
Yeah.
your slippery bastard self.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
This is a complete loss of control for Harry. Like,
Yeah. Well, it's like the
he
same
had
thing.
some cards, and now he's got nothing.
And it's one thing when you go to like your insurance and you like strike a deal with them or whatever like that, right? But then they get bought out by a bigger company and the contract changes and you're not a part of that, and so you just get screwed because like, oh well, our company doesn't work like that. And it's like, yeah, but the guys I signed with did, so you've got to honor. And they're like, no, we don't. Blah
Yeah,
blah blah. Right? And then you go
exactly.
into this big fight with them, right? So yeah, like Harry's just like, but I didn't even get to do anything greasy, slimy, weaselly. That's not there.
Don't take it away from me. Yeah, no, he's pretty much fucked.
Yeah.
And
So he demands to know who she is. She says, I have many names, she murmured. But you may call me Mab, Queen of Air and Darkness, Monarch of the Winter Court of the She. Oh, motherfucking shit. Now, I just coming back to the description that he gives, and I just love this sort of little foreshadowing of the color of her lips, the frozen mulberries. Like, it was just a very clever, just a little tiny hint.
yes.
It was great. I like that.
Yes, there was a couple of
Like,
little,
here's a little winter court.
little, yeah.
Yeah. What do you think? Why do you think the reason why she chose Sommerset as the name?
That's just like the most fairy name. Like I'm almost annoyed that Harry didn't use that in his list of reasons. Like that should have made it more than the purse. Like,
Once he was thinking of stuff, yeah.
well, yeah, like oh, cause your pseudonym is like Sommerset. Like Harry's read Shakespeare. Like
Yeah. Is that a Shakespearean name?
Shakespeare could have gotten it from someone else, but that's Shakespeare.
He did? Okay, because it's been eon. Midsummer's Night Dream, oddly enough, was I think the first Shakespeare I ever did, but it was like 7th grade. And I had a horrible, terrible teacher that made it awful. And I've never really gone back to it since. So I don't remember a lot of the finer details about it. So is that the one that
Or
he
is it
uses?
just like? See, I kind of wondered if it was a play on the words the end of summer, Sommerset.
Yeah, right? Like, it could be that. Because I know when I sort of looked at the word itself, there was no sort of inherent origins other than just being, English and whatever. And
That's cool though. If it's Shakespeare, awesome.
But yes, I did not get that far in looking into it. I did not. Because I think I just did. I think I searched for, like, origin, not even occurred to me to check for, so nothing like that came up when it
Literary
was.
reference,
Yeah, literary. I didn't check for other literary references.
I'm wrong. He uses Somerset in it's the Duke of Somerset in his Henry VI. He doesn't mention it in Midsummer.
Plus the 6, but okay.
I don't care.
That's a lot more research than I'd want to put in.
Yeah, no.
So
So I don't know where Somerset comes from, but it's just a well-known. People just use Somerset in
Apparently.
their fairy stories.
To you. Apparently, I haven't read enough fairy stories because I have not ever actually come across that as being like an instant.
I just tried to
Association.
look up some lore right now, and I can't find any origins. I just see everyone using it as.
Not that you were previously familiar with it, but there's.
I don't know. I just like.
I guess.
It's in my head, but I don't know how.
Yeah, I do see a certain, irony or, whatever with. And I mean, again, that's. I don't know if she picked it just to be sort of contrary,
Little cheeky.
rather than like a winter name. She went with.
yeah, Miss Snow.
Or so, right, like, yeah. But I do kind of like, I'm like, yeah, it could be sort of a play on the end of summer or something, but I'm sure if somebody else has other ideas or some reference that we're missing, I'm sure they will be glad to let us know.
Yeah, I'd
And our
love to hear what you
Discord.
think.
Fun and interesting chats all the time.
I didn't realize that Mab made an appeance so early in these books. Like, for some reason, I thought they were much later. But I'm
Yeah.
happy.
Matt
I'm
gets
happy
on
to
her
see it.
shit day one.
She does
that
jump in
ball.
really fast.
This concludes our episode 9.2, I'm a Wizard, Ask Me How. Thank you for listening. You can find us online at freeflowrambling.com and McAnallys.ca. There we have links to our other podcasts, social media, and other fun tidbits. Please subscribe if you like what you're hearing, and please consider supporting us through Patreon to keep the magic alive and to see more content. We are Free Flow Rambling. Conjure by it at your own risk.